This Family Life News podcast is made possible by the support of listeners like you.
How to talk about war. Welcome back to another edition of Real Answers, a regular Wednesday feature during the Family Life Noon Report, where we discuss the issues that matter to families with licensed mental health counselor Christopher Anderson. Welcome back, Chris.
Great to be back, Mark.
Always good to have you back in the saddle here. It's the unavoidable topic this week, so it seemed good to not ignore the proverbial elephant in the room and talking about war in the Middle East and how to avoid wars of words when we're talking about it.
Such a hot button topic, and we all know that. Every time something like this occurs, politics, the war, the fireworks can take place in our own families and amongst our friends. Let's try to be sensitive on how we do this, and sometimes it just means just avoiding the topic altogether with adults. But if the kids are going to ask about it, I think we need to really be clear on how to handle that.
Yeah, for sure. With any complicated topic like this, there are levels of nuance to how you talk to your kids about it. It's certainly not one size fits all. It depends on age, and I guess really their maturity level and what they can and can't handle, what's good and worth talking about.
Absolutely, and I think one of the things to keep an eye on, and this just seems to become more and more of a recommendation for literally every topic, and that is watch how much screen time your children have, both on whatever kind of devices they might have access to and television and the news, because obviously we know that the news glamorizes the details a lot of times. So just monitor what you're watching as an adult. Be careful of what children are around depending on their age and how much they're exposed to. That's really the first rule of thumb right there. Second rule of thumb, particularly with where this conflict is breaking out, try to bring it into a biblical context. Talk about the parallels in the Bible and how what we're seeing today, there might be some biblical parallels that need to be discussed. And then that way you can relate it to faith. By and large, what you also want to do for smaller children or children that might be showing signs of fear or anxiety is just to make sure that that's not getting too extreme. Allay their fears by giving them comfort, letting them know that you are there and that they can ask you questions at any point, but also pray with your kids. Take the time to pray and thank the Lord for giving us the ability to offer protection and offer the comfort that the kids really need. So really just assuring them that you are there as their parent is a really important thing to do.
You bring up the point of screen time, for our kids, but it really underscores as adults too. You can get so easily, I work in news, so I can't help it. Unfortunately, I wish I could tune it out to some degree, but for folks who have more of a choice, you really have to watch because it can just wrap you up so much and check your blood pressure after watching a half hour's worth, and wow, what an impact.
Exactly, Mark, and if you've noticed, and I'm sure you have being in the media, you notice that this is becoming a more and more important topic. More studies are being done, and we're seeing the impacts of excessive screen time. We need to be aware of in more of our daily lives, and particularly understanding, this is another topic that we've already addressed recently, and that is AI, artificial intelligence, and how this is impacting what we're seeing in the news and on screen. So adults, you need to monitor the amount of time you're spending time on screens. Turn off those notifications. There's settings where you can have notifications on for just certain things. For example, I just have my notifications set for personal text messages. That way, you're not being dinged or whatever sound you have your phone set to every time there's something that somebody else believes that you need to be interrupted to see.
Yeah, you're suddenly Pavlov's dog, I do the same thing. I'll get a ding for a personal text, but that is about it. All the other ones, I shut them down. You're listening to Real Answers. I'm Mark Webster, along with licensed mental health counselor Christopher Anderson. We're talking about the art of talking about war, if you will, or when to avoid it. You touched on a really important topic I want to circle back to, which is bringing this down to a biblical level, because any huge calamity, world event, you can always circle it back to something biblical, and it can give you comfort and understanding that a lot of the world is lacking.
Absolutely, and that could be comforting for your children in addition to educational too. Show them on the globe where this is all taking place, and obviously where we're located here in the Western Hemisphere, that there's a lot of distance there, and that will help to comfort your children also. Of course, we're not making any hardcore promises. We want to be careful about doing that, but we want to also make sure that we are letting our kids know that as parents and as guardians, that we're doing everything we can to make sure they're safe. And then, of course, when it's good time, when you've addressed it a little bit, don't hesitate to change the topic when you need to, especially for the little kids. It's a little harder to change the topic with older children, but that's okay. They're able to process this information and they're able to think about it more effectively than, the littles. So don't be afraid to address this with your kids, and then watch out for signs of anxiety and stress in your children. If they start acting a little differently, or they're, let's say, a little more tearful than normal, don't hesitate to get right down to their level, ask them what's going on, and ask them, what can I do to help you out, and see what they say. Invite them into the discussion. And then, of course, don't hesitate to reach out to a professional or your school's counselors that are there for your children. Let them know if maybe your kids are having a harder time, or even talk to your children's teachers. Let them know too, so they can kind of keep an eye on things. And these are just all really good recommendations, not only for the particular issue at hand, which is the war in the Middle East, but also any kind of difficult situation that might break out that your children may potentially be exposed to.
Excellent, Chris. You've been listening to Real Answers, a Wednesday feature of the Family Life Noon Report, where we discuss the issues important to families with licensed mental health counselor Christopher Anderson. Thanks as always, Chris.
Always a pleasure, Mark.
Thank you for listening to this Family Life News podcast. If you've been encouraged by what you've heard, please share it with others and click the subscribe button to automatically receive future episodes. Family Life is a listener-supported ministry. Podcasts like this are made possible by your financial partnership. Find out more at familylife.org.